I'd like to introduce you to a very famous Japanese artist, Yayoi Kusama. Yayoi Kusama was born in Matsumoto, Japan in 1929. When Yayoi Kusama was young, she dealt with some mental health issues that caused her to see spots. Her mental health and the hallucinations that she saw became a big part of her life and her art. She became fascinated with forms found in nature. One common characteristic of her work is her use of spots. The themes of her work often incorporate forms from nature like pumpkins, spheres, and forms that look like octopus tentacles, and of course her famous spots. Kusama primarily works with sculpture, but also creates other types of art like fashion, film, and paintings. Some of her work is so big that it fills up entire rooms. She even makes some of her sculptures glow in the dark. We'll be creating a work of art today inspired by the art of Yayoi Kusama. Let's get started. So for our project, we are going to focus on those octopus tentacles that Yayoi Kusama is so famous for. They also kind of remind me of seaweed. So I'm going to start out with a curving line that's kind of like an S curve or a wiggly line. And I'm going to start at the top again and draw the other side. And as I come back down on the other side, it's a little bit wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So it's skinny at the top and wide at the bottom. Now I'm going to repeat on the other side and draw another form that is like a piece of seaweed or like an octopus tentacle in the same way that I just did before. So we're using S curves. These kinds of lines are organic, which means they are free-flowing and inspired from nature. So here I'm going to draw another line on the inside of that tentacle. That's going to be kind of the underside of the tentacle. And I think I'll do that again in the middle one and also on the one to the right. Now what I'm going to do is add some more tentacles in the background, so behind these first three tentacles. And I can do that by overlapping and showing overlapping. So I'm starting on the side of one tentacle and drawing another organic line right beside it. And then I'm just going to repeat to show that they are behind those bigger ones in the front. And I'm just going to continue doing that in order to fill up the space. I don't want too many empty spaces, so I'm just going to continue drawing some more tentacles behind the big tentacles to show overlapping and show space. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Moving on to step number 2. Step number 2 is all about adding color. And remember, Yayoi Kusama always showed spots on her artwork. That was one of her main characteristics of her style of art. And when you are drawing your spots, it would be a really good idea for you to stick with warm colors in certain areas and then cool colors in other areas. The reason is because eventually we're going to paint these and those colors are going to blend and mix together. And if you have colors beside each other that are in the same color family, like cool colors or warm colors, then they blend really, really nicely together. So what I'm doing here is I'm choosing only cool colors for the tentacles. And then when I move on to the background, I will switch over to warm colors. You could do what I'm doing and use cool colors in the tentacles and then warm colors in the background, or you could switch it and use warm colors for the tentacles and cool colors for the background. That's up to you. All right, I'm going to speed this up a little bit and fast forward, and I will be back in a minute. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, when you're finished, you can put this away and we will move on to part 2 next class. Part 2 is going to be something called marker painting. So we used washable markers to make our spots. And next time we're going to use a brush and some water and turn that marker into paint. And it's going to spread out and kind of act like a watercolor paint. It's going to give a really nice underwater effect for our projects. I will see you next class.